Hello everybody, this is Dumpster Cat. Welcome back to another video, another rendition of the Tireless testing series, where we're trying to further our knowledge and exploration of the BGX midrange archetype in Pioneer. This one we're going to be up against Orzhov Doom Foretold, which is a pretty interesting kind of mid-rangey synergistic deck in the format right now. And for this video, we have a pretty interesting occasion of being able to test out some of the new Brothers War cards. A lot of the vendors right now, unfortunately, don't have any of the really new cards that I've been wanting to try out. However, we do get to try out some of the reprints just in the sideboard here for now, in the form of Go for the Throat and Obstinate Baloth. A nice catch-all removal spell to have, and then a nice mid-range / aggro card to bring in. Should be pretty effective. I'm pretty excited to test those out in the future. A quick overview of the deck. I'd say this is probably the most effective build that I've had in quite a long time. I think flexing the Grimflayer is really nice right now, alongside our suite of Planeswalkers with Liliana and Vraska, and even alongside the Ranger classes and the Treacherous Blessings. And I don't think you need to necessarily play any main deck artifacts to make Grimflayer Delirious that often, as I feel like focusing on the utilization of Liliana in, obviously a traditional mid-range element, but also to support Grimflayer's Delirium is pretty relevant and comes up quite a bit. Other than that, we are kind of flexing the Treacherous Blessing combo with Vraska. I know in the last video I had I believe 3 of each in the deck, which was somewhat effective, but I wanted to try out a bit of a smaller package for this match and for future games, just because I feel like it's powerful enough to be worth testing with. However, I think that probably just in lower moderations is probably the way to go. And I still like it alongside Grimflayer and alongside obviously the other mid-range pieces. And along those lines, I do think that Vraska is very, very impactful and a bit underrated at the moment. So I do like playing her as well in the 4-drop slot. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the match and hope you can learn something. And consider subscribing, liking the video, and commenting if you're interested in this form of content. Definitely helps me a lot. Thank you. Okay, we're here for game 1 against Orzhov Doom Foretold with a keepable hand, always like having turn 1 Thoughtseize off of Blooming Marsh, plus some creatures, nice interaction, and then of course the late game inevitability in the form of Liliana. So definitely keep this. We are on the play, so we get to get that Thoughtseize out there nice and quick. And right off the bat we do see we're against the namesake Doom Foretold deck. And so we have a pretty interesting pick here, or choice here. Treacherous Blessing is a card that's very difficult for mid-range decks to deal with, and so that was my first inclination to take this card. However, I ended up going with the Doom Foretold just because, one, of course, it's the namesake card, and so just going off of that theory, it's going to be the most powerful and most synergistic card in their deck as a whole. And two, because we do have the Liliana in hand, we're able to guarantee having more of a game against the Treacherous Blessing, other than in contrast to the Doom Foretold. And so in that sense, I think that taking the Doom Foretold here is just the more correct pick. So we go with that, and so they're left with these 6 cards. And the opponent will just play out a tapped Godless Shrine. We draw a Scavenging Ooze, and so this turn we're just going to play out, I believe, the Ranger class. Just because they're pretty likely to have a removal spell, and so I'd rather them target the vanilla 2/2 rather than the 2/2 with abilities. And so here they're just going to run out the Swamp into the Lithoform Blight. Fortunately for us, our deck is not really affected by this card, other than if it targets like a Castle Lochthwain or a Hive of the Eye Tyrant. But just right now, it's a little annoying because it does inhibit our life total control just a bit, but I think that's fine. And so here, we have the choice of either just going Skoos, keeping activation up, or playing out Liliana of the Veil. I end up going for the Liliana just because, I mean, it's an interesting choice of, or interesting decision of either going with a more aggressive route against the mid-range / kind of combo-oriented deck, right, with doing Foretold. But I feel like because we did leave the Treacherous Blessing in hand, I feel like we want to get out the Liliana sooner rather than later, and it's just more mana efficient. So we do go for the Liliana plus, and then discard our Quagmire. If Quagmire, or if this land was an untapped land, I would be more interested in possibly keeping it, and then possibly drawing into like a 1 or 2 drop, so we could double spell, or even just cast like the Scavenging Ooze, and then activate Ranger class. But because it is a tap land, I just wanted to keep the 2 most relevant cards in our hand. And so, as expected, the opponent does go for the Treacherous Blessing, which is obviously bad because it gets them back up to 7 cards in hand. However, we do have the Liliana in play, which definitely helps us a lot. We have the token, and then we drew into Graveyard Trespasser, which enables us to use our mana very, very efficiently. We don't have to worry about, should we activate Ranger class or just play out the Scavenging Ooze, leave up Decay. We just get to go straight in with the Trespasser, attack for 2, and then we do discard the Scavenging Ooze to the Liliana plus, just because I feel like Ooze is not going to be too relevant in the matchup because they don't have many creatures in their deck, it seems, and I feel like Decay is just going to be the more relevant card, just generally in terms of how their deck functions. And so the opponent is just going to play out an Oath of Kyra, targeting Liliana of the Veil, which is a great turn of events for us because that really doesn't do much. We are going to plus, discarding the Fatal Push, just because, again, Decay is just broadly better against their deck. And then we're going to plus the Ranger class. And then on attacks here, I do believe I make a mistake. I put the counter on the Wolf token instead of the Trespasser. I should have just put it on the Trespasser because the way their deck is oriented, they have more edict effects. So we see the Oath of Liliana being an example of that. They also have Trial of Ambition, I think it's called, 2 mana enchantment edict. And so just putting the 1/1 counter on the Trespasser is going to be more impactful for us, just because they don't have as much targeted removal. So we should have gone down that line, but not too bad for us. And with activating the Ranger class, we do get to flip the Trespasser, which is nice. So they'll just play out a land, and they play a Myth Realized, which is a really, really interesting card. I think this is seen Legacy play back in the old days, of course, but really kind of strange card. Could get them some card advantage, or no, sorry, not even card advantage. It's just I guess kind of a late game creature that they can activate that just kind of sits in the battlefield and becomes relevant for them in the later game. But yeah, as we noted before, they do have a Trial of Ambition, which is pretty bad against our play, but it should be okay. They also did cast 2 spells, which flipped our Trespasser, which is not the best, but again, this is okay. I would say we're still advantaged, and we're still able to keep a good control of their hand. As we note here, they're at 2 cards, soon to be 1, with the Liliana just being really, really nice here. We just discard the Fatal Push. They discard a Starfield of Nyx, which, having 5 mana in play, this notes to me that they probably just have another copy of this, or perhaps they have a Yorion like main deck that they want to be holding to get some really, really insane value. So I was a bit scared in that sense, but we do have the Decay for any sorts of those effects of at least we could like decay the Ambition in response to a Yorion, and we still keep our Trespasser in the Liliana in play. But fortunately for us, we're able to attack. They do block with the monk, I guess, monk avatar, which was a bit strange. However, it makes more sense with their play here of them just having a second Starfield of Nyx, which they could get back the Myth Realized with. And so, oh, sorry, move through that too quickly, but they with this Starfield Index, if they have 5 enchantments in play, they get all of their enchantments as creatures, power and toughness equal to each enchantment's mana value. And so before attacks, because they did have 5 enchantments, including this Lithoform Blight, we did decay the Trial of Ambition, which would, one, Trial of Ambition, although kind of interesting, like, you would probably think that we would want to instead take out the Oath of Kaya with the decay. However, Trial of Ambition uniquely is probably just the best enchantment they have against us right now, that we can target with the decay, because we do have the Graveyard Trespasser. So we took out that, which negated any further value from them getting off of this, and then also just took out the all their creatures. So pretty nice turn of events for us. And then pretty nicely here we're able to get a nice big 6/6 Graveyard Glutton, take out 2 of their enchantments from the graveyard, which is really nice. And then we're able to play another Graveyard Trespasser in plus. So looking pretty good here. And then they do discard, I think it was just like Thoughtseize, yeah. And then they concede. So pretty interesting play, our turn of events there. I definitely think we could have oriented our Ranger Class +1/+1 counters a bit more efficiently, just taking into account that they have more edict effects rather than targeted removal, but it ended up being okay for us. And additionally there, we did see the power of Liliana. And so for sideboarding, because the Storm Foretold deck is a bit of a more a unique kind of off-meta deck, we do have some interesting choices from the sideboard. Obviously, Terror Sunder is going to be the most impactful card that we have access to, as they are mainly enchantment-based. Duress is going to be very impactful as well, getting the enchantments out of the opponent's hand. And I believe I should have brought in a Baloth as well, just because it works very well against Doom Foretold. The sacrifice effect of it forces us to discard a card, and so Baloth would work pretty relevantly alongside having that effect. However, I think just in game 2 I left it in the board, just because I didn't think it would be too relevant other than that. However, with bringing these 4 cards in, we need to take 4 cards out, and so I do take out the 3 Fatal Pushes, just because they are not entirely relevant against their deck. They don't play creatures at all, I feel like, or maybe just 1 or 2. And then along those lines, we are going to cut the Kalidas as well. Alright, so we're here for game 2, noting those sideboard changes of taking out the creature removal and the Kalidas main deck. We have a pretty interesting opening hand. Believe it is keepable. Obviously, having a nice blend of lands and spells is exactly what mid-range decks want. However, not too impactful in the form of, we probably want to see like a Liliana or a Thoughtseize, but this is definitely keepable nonetheless. So opponent starts out with a Swamp into a Thoughtseize, and they take our Graveyard Trespasser. I was assuming that they would take either Tracker or Decay, just noting that they have Edict effects to take care of this Trespasser, and to get around the Ward ability. However, them taking the Trespasser makes me think that they want to be more on like a long-term game plan, and they saw this Trespasser as the most effective attacking creature that we have against them, and so perhaps that's why they took that. However, we just play a Blooming March and pass Druid Trophy, which is very nice. They do the same. Godless Shrine pass, we're just passing here. The Lithoform Blight, which doesn't do much, and then we drew a Liliana. So we have a pretty interesting choice of either going for the Tracker or the Liliana. However, like last game, I feel like Liliana is just so impactful for us. Especially, 1, being against a mid-range deck, it's very impactful, and then 2, knowing the opponent probably doesn't have very many ways of interacting with this card, at least that we've seen so far. I think Liliana is probably just the play here. So I do go for her. I do make a slight mistake of playing the Llanowar Wastes instead of the Castle Lock Lane. So we do have to take 1 extra damage here to cast the Liliana, but I think that's okay. And we just discard an extra land. And so here they get Doom Foretold onto the battlefield, which is pretty impactful for them. It does get rid of our Liliana of the Veil. However, we are just able to wait till the end of their turn to trophy it. As you'll see, they have to sacrifice this Blight here, and then the Thoughtseize, and then in response to this Thoughtseize, actually, we're going to trophy the Doom Foretold. And then I believe they take the Tracker, yeah. And fortunately for us, they don't have any follow-up. So we drew Hive of the Eye Tyrant, so we have a pretty interesting decision of going for the castle or the creature land. However, knowing that they have a castle in play, and then us being at the same amount of cards in hand, I felt like just getting the castle out there would probably just be more impactful for the late game, as it seems that this game will probably go deep into the late game as we see them activating castle there. So they just did nothing, played a Fable Passage, we drew an extra card with castle, drawing into Vraska, which is very, very impactful for us. So we do get to resolve her, sacrificing this Llanowar Wastes, drawing an extra card, and then we do play out the Hive of the Eye Tyrant. And then they get to make a token. So here they get a pretty impactful turn of going double Oath of Kaya into being able to get rid of our Vraska, which is pretty nice for them, not so nice for us. However, we do draw into Scooze, which is kind of nice, and we get to go Scooze into Forest, and then still hold up the Castle Lock Lane activation. So not too bad, but definitely need to draw into some sort of card advantage spell like Tracker or just another Liliana. However, here they do draw into a Treacherous Blessing, which is quite bad for us, and in fact, I just concede to that. I probably could have played on a bit more, but I think I was rushed for time right now, and so I just wanted to have more time later on, and so I just conceded there, just because the power of this card is so terrible against us. Alright, so for game 3, we didn't make any changes post-sideboard, just kept the same game plan. However, as I said before, I think you could bring in the Baloth if you really wanted to, just because it is relevant against Doom Foretold, other than any possible sideboard cards they have against us, like Thoughtseize, Duress, or even Liliana of the Veil post-sideboard. So I would not be remiss if somebody brought in the Baloth. However, we do have a pretty nice opening hand. Get to go turn 1 Duress off of this Hive of the Eye Tyrant to see what they're working with. And we do see an alright hand. Good suite of removal spells from them, with the Fatal Push and the Ambition, I guess even the Haggard Mauling as well, and the Golden Egg. Here I believe I take the Trial of Ambition, just because it's going to be really good against our Ranger class. And is probably just, in my opinion, the most impactful cards of the cards that I have in hand right now, and the most synergistic with Doom Foretold. So just took it there. Could have taken possibly the Golden Egg, but I didn't think that was too relevant to our game plan overall. So we do go for the Ranger class here. They do have the opportunity of pushing it on the end step, however they do not do that for some reason. A bit confused as to why they didn't do that. That's fine. We're able to attack for 2 here. And then I'm pretty sure like games 1 and 2 we get to have a nice turn 3 Liliana, discarding this Scavenging Ooze, an extra Scavenging Ooze. So definitely not complaining here. And they discard the Golden Egg. So didn't have to worry about it. And then now they do push the Wolf token, which I was a bit confused as to why they didn't do it last turn. Obviously taking the Trial of Ambition makes them a bit more mana efficient because push is obviously costs less, but I do think just taking away the synergistic card is going to be more impactful. So here they do go for a isolated chapel into a drawn Treacherous Blessing, which is probably just worst case scenario for us. Unfortunately, them being able to get back to 6 cards in hand. But we do have the Liliana in hand, which is very nice. And here we make a pretty interesting play of actually going to level 2 with Ranger class and discarding the Scavenging Ooze, which is very interesting. My thought process behind this was that I just want to focus on basically just representing Liliana as our pathway to victory for this game. And then I felt like that, alongside upgrading the Ranger class to level 3 to get some really, really insane card advantage off the top, would be the most impactful play for us. And so that's why I went down that route. And additionally, I didn't think that Scavenging Ooze was going to be too impactful for us, noting that like Starfield to Nyx is the only relevant graveyard card that they have access to. But here they have just the worst possible answer for this Ranger class, which is going to be the Doom Foretold. So unfortunately, all that mana we spent with upgrading the Ranger class gets pretty bad here. Oh, I'm pretty sure I said I leveled up this to level 3. I meant level 2 though, not level 3 yet. So I guess actually in this turn of events, it's not too bad that we didn't upgrade this to level 3, because that would be obviously 4 mana being put into it instead of just 2. However, we do get a really, really nice draw here in the form of Terra Sunder. So we get to take out the Doom Foretold and then plus away a trophy. And we do, just proper sequencing there, we do plus first, putting away the trophy, and then Terra Sunder the Doom Foretold, just to keep the information as minimal as possible for the Liliana plus. And pretty unfortunate there, we didn't have double green, so we couldn't double spell there. However, they do have a Blood Baron of Viscopa, which definitely seems like a sideboard card for them. Really, really big, balmy card, protection from white and from black. So basically protection from all the removal in our deck, besides the Liliana -2. So we get to just pretty cleanly edict it away here. Not sure that the opponent realized that. Perhaps it was just the only play they had access to. And we do get to just pass the turn here, drawing an extra Liliana the Veil and holding up Castle Lockdown activation on the end step. So they have a Golden Egg and another Treacherous Blessing, which is pretty problematic, and they do play the Haggard Mauling as a land. A little problematic in the sense that they do have a lot of card advantage. However, pretty interestingly enough here, we do have the Liliana, of course, being quite relevant, of course, keeping their hand in check. And then we drew a Graveyard Trespasser. And so my thinking here when I drew this is that because they have the Double Blessing in play, they're going to be taking a lot of life with each spell that they cast. Unless, of course, they have another Doom Foretold or possibly a, I think it's called Demonic Pact, allowing you to sacrifice permanents. However, I think that, going with just a line of playing out the Trespasser and just going on a really, really aggressive plan is going to be what we want to do here. So we start the turn off by plussing away this extra Liliana that we don't need access to, and we see that they plus away a Shambling Vent, and then just play out the Trespasser, exiling the Blood Baron just to get the clock rolling here, leaving trophy in hand. So unfortunately for us, they were able to Thoughtseize away our trophy, which was our single answer to a possible Doom Foretold, which of course they have, right? So unfortunately we do have to take out this Liliana. We could have kept the Liliana and just sacrificed the Trespasser. However, here I did the math, and we actually did have lethal just on board without them having a fatal push, because we did have the Trespasser attack trigger on the Cleric, put them down to 6, and then we did have the fortunately drew into the untapped land to activate Hive. And so do that, and then we just have lethal. I was very, very worried that they would have a Fatal Push here, because that would be just the... actually, no, Fatal Push wouldn't even... yeah, because they don't have Revolt. So Fatal Push wouldn't have even worked out for them. And so, yeah, we just got the clean win there, which is very nice. So pretty fun win there, I would say. Definitely an interesting matchup, kind of a synergistic mid-range deck that they have going for them. That is quite interesting for us to tackle. But we definitely do have some pretty nice pieces of interaction for them. As you saw, Trophy was just a really nice all-star. Same with Vraska. Trespasser was just insane, being a really, really nice attacker and resilient threat. But Liliana just being the all-star in that matchup, and I do believe that in other matchups as well, other mid-range oriented matchups, Liliana is going to shine definitely a lot. Unfortunately, we did not get to see any go for the throat action or bail off action, so I'm definitely really sorry there. But I definitely just wanted to get like the content out there. Just saying that like I do believe that these two cards are playable, definitely in the sideboard. I think bail off more so than the go for the throat. I think that perhaps just a Noxious Grasp is going to be more widely applicable than go for the throat, which is pretty interesting because I did say that this is a just kind of a catch-all removal spell. However, I think that Noxious Grasp could be a bit more relevant just with the gaining life against certain decks like mono white humans, or even like blue white control could be interesting. Yeah, other than that, as I said before, I'm really confident in this list. I think that the Treacherous Blessing plus Vraska numbers here are pretty correct, and most importantly, I just like these 9 3-drops here. I think that I really have been feeling this number of 3-drops and this configuration with these creatures and planeswalkers here. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing if you're interested. Consider subscribing if you're interested in this content, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.